These people planned 25 years in advance. Had Pac and Big still been alive today, come on, brother. You and I both know how strong they would have been.
What if the most unexpected twist in hip-hop history hasn't even taken place yet? For years, the public accepted that Tupac Shakur died in a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas. But now, fresh reports, murmurs from the FBI, and startling new allegations suggest he could still be alive and preparing to expose some of the most influential figures in the music industry. From undisclosed tapes to confidential information, this unfolding story might change everything.
Could Puff have been involved in Tupac's murder or Biggie's murder?
I think that when you set up an atmosphere for something to happen, they wasn't gonna f with me, and they not gonna f with me. He said, I'm a businessman. I'm about making money, but something gotta change. I don't give a f if Pac gotta die, Big gotta die, or Suge Knight go to jail. Something's gotta change.
I don't think anything is coincidental. Why would you tell the littlest in the crew that these are the guys who took my chain? It's over there on the other side of the casino, by the elevators. Why you ain't go tell Suge?
I ain't nobody, never did, ever nobody. They don't have no evidence against me. Came and put me in Las Vegas, proved that I orchestrated this.
You said the shots came from the back. Who shot Tupac?
I keep it for the code of the streets. It just came from the back seat, bro. Shouldn't have said nothing. And I'm innocent, man.
Tupac Shakur, long believed to have died in 1996, has reportedly been alive and living in secrecy for close to 30 years. New revelations claim he's preparing to come forward with evidence that could seriously implicate two of hip-hop's most prominent names, Jay-Z and Diddy. This isn't about grainy beach photos or random lookalikes wearing a bandana in Cuba. These claims are quietly surfacing from within law enforcement circles.
Came back downstairs, he was heated. He said, yo, Gene, I got 126 employees, and these people depend on me for their livelihoods. If these white folks thought or they would think that I had anything to do with any kind of gunplay, they wasn't gonna f with me, and they not gonna f with me. He said, I'm a businessman. I'm about making money, but something gotta change. I don't give a f if Pac gotta die, Big gotta die, or Suge Knight go to jail. Something's gotta change. And he took upstairs, he turned around and walked back upstairs. And it didn't dawn on me what he said. And then my man looked at me and Bun was like, yo, that nigga said Big.
For years, it was accepted that Shakur died in that Vegas shooting. 4 gunshots, a chaotic hospital stay, and 6 tense days before his death was officially announced. Yet, nearly 30 years later, the narrative may not be what it seemed. While Jay-Z and Diddy face legal troubles and public scrutiny, an explosive rumor emerges, making the word comeback feel like an understatement. The drive-by in Las Vegas was long seen as Tupac's final chapter. But now, the picture is changing. A few bullets, days of medical confusion, and then silence. However, 3 decades on, the landscape looks entirely different. With Jay-Z and Diddy both embroiled in lawsuits and controversy, this rumor shakes the very foundation of what many believe to be true. If it's real, it won't just be a return. It could redefine the culture itself.
Job after fish.
Expect me, nigga, like you expect Jesus to come back. Expect me, nigga. I'm coming.
Guerrilla conversation, warfare, remain patient. Rhymes I can't waste it, can't smell and taste it. Can, yes I can right. I can make you what the mild, hot, basic, complex and complicated. I spit the verbal venom, lyricism, fresh rated, separated myself. To get into myself, to get out of myself, to look directly at myself. And if you seen what I saw and witness my flaws, my ups and downfalls, and why I rhyme at all is just a mystery to y'all, but still I'm down by law.
The claim is bold and unsettling. Tupac didn't simply vanish. He outmaneuvered everyone. He stepped out of the spotlight, not to hide, but to collect proof that could bring down the very individuals believed to be behind his disappearance. And if even part of these leaks are accurate, the FBI may have finally located him, not to charge him, but to reverse the narrative on Jay-Z and Diddy, just as their public images start to unravel. Sources say federal investigators have either contacted Shakur or someone representing him, seeking concrete evidence, documents, call logs, financial records, even video surveillance, that could link Jay-Z and Diddy to more than just questionable dealings. Potentially, even to the events in Vegas. And this is where things take a serious turn. Reports suggest that sealed files from the 1990s, long presumed lost, have now been cross-referenced with new intelligence allegedly provided by those close to Shakur. The FBI is no longer chasing speculation. They're monitoring, waiting for the precise time to act.
Strike back.
Now America's got jewels and they paid and everything, and they lending money to everybody except us. Everybody need a little help on their way to being self-reliant. No independent person just grew up and was born independent. You worked and you learned teamwork and you learned cooperation and unity and struggle, and then you became independent. I mean, nobody should be hitting lotto for 36 million and we got people starving in the streets. That is not idealistic, that's just real. These people should own planes and their people don't have houses, apartments, shacks, drawers, pants. I don't have that mega money, but I feel guilty walking by somebody. I gotta give them some mail.
Imagine it. Shakur watching from the sidelines as Diddy and Jay-Z build their wealth and influence, fully aware that their success may have come from the same violent game that forced him to disappear. Over the years, the headlines kept coming. Diddy's ongoing legal issues, accusations of exploitation, murmurs of organized criminal activity, and Jay-Z, now indirectly entangled in lawsuits that appear aimed at shielding Diddy. It resembles a fragile structure decades in the making, now beginning to shake. And just as expected, the figure they thought was long gone resurfaces, this time with the evidence that could ignite it all.
Could Puff have been involved in Tupac's murder or Biggie's murder?
I think that when you set up an atmosphere for something to happen, how involved are you? You set up the atmosphere. You put people in positions to get hurt. He knew that somebody was going to do something. He was told. I told him before we left. I told him. Mace told him. See, people ain't telling. See, everybody think that Gene Deal is the only one know this. I'm not the only one that's noticed and privileged to this information. I'm the only one that's speaking on it and has spoke on it.
We need to address the Cuba connection, because it's not just a side note, it's central to the entire theory. Consider all the past speculation, blurry nightclub videos, Havana residents insisting they saw Shakur picking up groceries, and YouTube clips showing a man in a hoodie, goatee, and sunglasses who looked oddly familiar. For years, it all came off like wishful thinking from devoted fans refusing to let go. But then Shakur's former bodyguard, Michael Nice, publicly claimed he had both audio and video evidence proving Fidel Castro allowed Shakur to remain in Cuba. He described a secretive escape operation involving bribes, connections to the Black Panthers, and a discreet transfer on a Barbados runway, after which Shakur vanished once more, protected by a government that shared his distrust of American institutions.
Somebody said Tupac is coming back this year and stuff. Well, I've been back, you know, as far as they saying Tupac coming back this year. I've been here. You just recognized and this
is where the story turns deeply personal. Imagine discovering that those closest to you, friends, collaborators, even longtime peers in the music industry, may have been responsible for the attack that nearly killed you in Vegas. Picture spending 30 years in hiding, watching those same individuals gain wealth and influence, all while you wait for the right time to respond. If the rumors are true, Shakur didn't go underground just to stay alive. He used exile strategically, amassing what sources describe as a cache of sensitive information about those who once considered themselves above reproach. With connections to veteran Black Panther circles, it's believed he remained heavily guarded, not entirely free, but far from helpless, exchanging intelligence in return for continued safety. And now, the timing couldn't be more precise or more damaging. Why would Shakur reemerge after all this time? Because Jay-Z and Diddy have never been more vulnerable. Diddy's business empire is crumbling. Multiple lawsuits are piling up. Disturbing reports about private gatherings are surfacing in the media, and former staff are breaking their NDAs to reveal what they witnessed. He's currently held in a Brooklyn detention facility, denied bail, facing charges so serious that even his wealth and influence may not be enough to protect him. Meanwhile, Jay-Z, once seen as above reproach, is now caught in a legal battle involving claims so damaging that his legal team is working overtime to keep him from being pulled into Diddy's downfall. For years, the two shared a complicated history, part allies, part competitors, and frequent collaborators. They may not have handled the evidence themselves, but both were said to know exactly where the secrets were buried.
The same people that Puffy, Biggie, and Bad Boy was using as protection when they came to LA, it's the same people that just happened to get into a fight with Tupac in Vegas. To me, man, that's a hell of a coincidence, man. I don't know about that.
I don't think anything is coincidental. Why would you tell the littlest in the crew that these are the guys who took my chain? It's over there on the other side of the casino, by the elevators. Why you didn't go tell Suge? Why you didn't tell one of the bouncers, one of the security, one of the bodyguards? Did anybody ever question him? Why you gonna tell the man who make all the money for us? That's a setup. They was setting that boy up, man. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Me and Puffy, we was friends. So understand one thing, in the streets when you're known as the best, you become a trophy. Everybody wants control.
Would you like to come play?
And now with the FBI actively pursuing witnesses and looking to close long-standing investigations, the alleged evidence held by Shakur becomes more than a personal vendetta. It's being viewed as potential leverage for accountability, closure, and possibly a path to restore both his name and his mother's legacy. According to insiders, federal agents are drawing connections across multiple decades. Phone logs from the 1990s are reappearing in recent legal documents. Sealed testimonies are now aligning with old audio recordings. In the past, silence was the unspoken rule. No one talked. But today, Keffi D, the final suspect linked to the 1996 shooting, is in custody and reportedly considering cooperation. Even Suge Knight has taken to social media from behind bars, calling for justice in Shakur's case. The silence is ending and the tone of the story is changing fast.
I ain't nobody, never did, ever nobody. They don't have no evidence against me. Came and put me in Las Vegas, proved that I orchestrated this.
You said the shots came from the back. Who shot Tupac?
I keep it for the code of the streets. It just came from the backseat, bro. Shouldn't have said nothing. And I'm innocent, man.
So you guys are driving around, and then you hear these girls say, Tupac, Tupac.
No, we coming up, what's the name? What's that, Flamingo? Yeah, I think that's Flamingo. We was coming up Flamingo and got to the light.
So out of curiosity, right? Let's say you was on the left side of the white Cadillac and you seen Tupac and Suge Knight. What would have been your response?
It's hard to say. I don't know. But I would have had to take up on my nephew for sure.
So you would have shot up the BMW with Tupac and Suge Knight in it?
I would have take up for my nephew. I would just leave it like that.
How do you feel about people that say and believe that you was actually the person that was the trigger man, you know, in the white Cadillac that shot up Tupac and Suge Knight?
I'm glad they ain't the police. That's all I can say. I'm glad they ain't the police.
And here's where things take a sharper turn. For years, most assumed Diddy was the key figure, the financier bold enough to authorize a $1 million hit. But new allegations suggest the focus might be shifting. Former accountants and low-profile investigators are pointing toward Jay-Z's circle, claiming funds were transferred to individuals connected to the Vegas shooting. Recorded phone conversations from the months leading up to Shakur's disappearance allegedly line up with Jay-Z's locations at the time, casting him not as a distant observer, but as a quiet player positioned to benefit once Tupac was out of the picture.
Michael Jackson watched Quincy Jones' daughters grow up. Fast forward years later, Tupac is dating one of the daughters.
They're having a party. Michael Jackson's there. Kadada is sitting on Mike's lap.
Could the same figure praised as a cultural architect and billionaire influencer have been orchestrating events from behind the scenes? These aren't just bitter voices from the past. Former security staff, insiders from the industry's early time, days, and even retired law enforcement are all pointing to inconsistencies in Jay-Z's timeline. If these claims are accurate, the foundation of hip-hop's most admired legacy could be far darker than anyone imagined. The implications are serious. If Tupac really holds credible evidence and intends to reveal it, this isn't just another plot twist. It could signal the downfall of the genre's most dominant empire. Sure, we've heard the far-fetched stories before. Tupac spotted in Havana, in clubs across Asia, or digitally altered into photos with Beyoncé. But the current environment changes everything. Diddy's world is already unraveling. Criminal. Charges, disturbing reports, and years of questionable dealings have caught up to him. Some media outlets have even compared his behavior to that of Jeffrey Epstein. Meanwhile, Jay-Z's legal team is under pressure, pushing back with accusations of extortion and doing everything possible to delay what may now be unavoidable. The two men who once stood side by side at the Rock Nation brunch now appear to be distancing themselves, each seemingly focused on self-preservation. And perhaps for the first time, they're genuinely concerned. Suddenly, all the past clues seem more significant. Suge Knight's vague remarks, Shakur's mother hinting that her son may have quietly chosen to disappear, the posthumous albums, and the Makaveli alias, named after a historical figure who faked his own death to outmaneuver enemies. In hindsight, every detail carries new weight. Why did the coroner's report contain basic errors? Why did the cremator step down the very next day? And why did residents of Havana repeatedly claim they saw a well-known rapper in their neighborhood? Even after all these years, with the FBI actively re-examining every piece of the puzzle, surveillance footage, financial records, informant files, it feels as though the pressure is mounting. Hip-hop has always blurred the lines between myth and reality, but now that line seems to have disappeared. What once sounded like baseless speculation is beginning to resemble a strategic, long-term plan. Despite their success, Jay-Z and Diddy now appear trapped by a history they likely assumed was buried long ago in the Nevada desert. Meanwhile, somewhere, perhaps in a modest Cuban apartment or just beyond the frame of public view, a figure may be quietly observing the unraveling of the empire that once tried to erase him. With federal agents reportedly on his side, evidence continuing to surface, and his adversaries under scrutiny, the question isn't whether Shakur has proof. The real question is, what's next for hip-hop's once untouchable elite?
New lawsuit coming with Jay, the part with Jay. I go, oh shoot, like
to us, black excellence,
that had to be there.
We getting tighter, you know what I'm saying? And united we stand, and ain't nothing else.
Black excellence, they're sitting there like, yeah. It's the billionaire brunch. Like,
I hate you, man.
Unaware of anything going on here. This is the one time I'm gonna be with you this year. Come on, bro.
And the consequences won't stop with Diddy or Jay-Z. Quiet discussions are already circulating about dozens of possible associates, lawyers, managers, assistants, even security personnel, either being subpoenaed or suddenly leaving the country. Longtime industry insiders, once living in luxury, are now wiping their digital footprints, changing phones, and trying to disappear. The long-standing code of silence is breaking down, and everyone is aware of it. As events unfold, it's starting to resemble more than just a scandal. It's beginning to look like the gradual collapse of a cultural empire that helped shape the last 3 decades of pop music. Diddy, once celebrated for hosting lavish white parties, now finds himself in a jail cell instead of a mansion in the Hamptons. He's facing a federal trial that could force long-hidden details into the open, allegations involving exploitation, organized crime, and misconduct. The term criminal enterprise is now closely associated with his name, while his legal team works overtime and burns through cash to contain the damage. Each new lawsuit adds to the turmoil. more associates are seeking immunity, more alleged victims are stepping forward, and no one can say for certain who might cooperate next or what information is still buried. For someone who once shaped public opinion with a single tweet or a viral video, Diddy now struggles to maintain any control over the story. Meanwhile, Jay-Z, the figure often seen as the model of hip-hop entrepreneurship, is realizing that even the highest towers can show structural cracks. Civil suits continue to stack up, each one carrying the potential to uncover years of confidential communications and private dealings. But beyond the courtroom, it's the change in public sentiment that's most telling. Supporters who once praised his every move are now re-examining the past, looking through old interviews, lyrics, and timelines to determine when influence may have crossed into something far more troubling.
In this video, watch how Jay-Z quickly turned around when P. Diddy greeted Beyonce with a touch on her shoulder. Jay-Z came out of nowhere. This was at the Rock Nation brunch back in 2018. Jay-Z definitely wasn't having it.
Jay-Z's defense alternates between firm denials and strategic counterattacks, at times portraying himself as a target because of his race, and at others, distancing himself from a man he once called a brother. But if the evidence allegedly held by Shakur ever surfaces, it could completely overturn the carefully curated version of hip-hop history that Jay-Z has promoted. No amount of public relations work could restore that image. The two figures once considered untouchable, billionaires with fashion brands, liquor lines, and influence spanning Wall Street to the White House, are now being seen as central to a betrayal that could redefine the music industry and Black cultural history. This isn't a typical celebrity scandal. It's the kind of revelation that could wipe out catalogs, force award shows to revisit past decisions, and send corporate sponsors fleeing. Years of mentorship, charitable foundations, and meticulously built legacies could vanish overnight, replaced by the stark reality behind the headlines. If that reality comes through Shakur's rumored return, no label or media conglomerate will be prepared for the impact.
The $1 million check, right, that they put on Tupac to get him the hit.
Yeah, what I'm talking about is that if Puff has said on a couple of records that he'll pay $1 million to, but he was just talking to people randomly. So now everybody said that, and Keefy D said that Puff told them that he'll give them $1 million.
Even those who believed they knew the full story are now under pressure. Road managers have gone quiet. Lawyers hint that several celebrities may be under investigation. Private jets are moving in and out of Miami and Los Angeles, carrying publicists and crisis teams who cannot guarantee protection. The old network that once held the music business together, the handshakes, favors, and backroom arrangements, is beginning to crumble under subpoenas and hidden recordings. For fans who grew up believing these men were untouchable, the sense of betrayal cuts even deeper. And it all comes back to one unsettling idea. Perhaps Shakur anticipated this. Over the years, fans have analyzed his Machiavelli persona, scrutinized cryptic lyrics, hidden messages, and album art that seem designed for those paying close attention. Exit Shakur, enter Machiavelli. The liner notes of the Don Illuminati, the 7-Day Theory, released after his reported death, borrowed the name of Machiavelli, the strategist known for faking one's death to outsmart enemies and return stronger. Was it just artistic flair or a calculated survival plan? Could every song, every enigmatic line, have been a warning aimed at those who would try to erase him? The clues appear everywhere: lyrics about betrayal, imagery that blurs fact and legend, and photos where Shakur's gaze seems to challenge viewers to see beyond the surface. Even long-running rumors. The Havana sightings, Suge Knight's hints, bodyguards claiming Castro's assistance, begin to form a pattern when examined together. For years, skeptics have highlighted inconsistencies in the official narrative. A coroner's report riddled with errors, missing witnesses, albums released with suspicious timing. Was it all mere coincidence? Or was Shakur sending a coded message? Was Machiavelli silently declaring, "I'm not finished yet"? This is the question now gripping the music industry. If Shakur staged his disappearance, then every assumption about that night in Vegas could be wrong. Were the events staged? Were hospital scenes manipulated? Could his vanishing have been less a tragedy than the most extraordinary performance of his career? Even critics who dismissed the Cuba rumors are now revisiting old footage, searching for details they may have overlooked, those small clues that could completely overturn the story. And then comes the larger question: what does this mean for hip-hop itself? The Shakur versus Biggie rivalry, East Coast versus West Coast, it was supposed to be about music, not a web of violence and conspiracy. Yet now, with Diddy's empire unraveling and Jay-Z's name tied to legal filings, people are beginning to question whether the very foundations of modern hip-hop were built on something far darker than the lyrics ever suggested. It's no longer just a question of who pulled the trigger. It's about who knew, who remained silent, and who profited while the world mourned. And the silence is telling. Those once eager to stand alongside Jay-Z and Diddy are now quiet. Beyoncé and other A-list collaborators, former regulars at galas and award shows, are keeping a low profile. Social circles that once thrived now seem reduced to cautious loyalists. Meanwhile, the media, once careful, is digging deeper, reviewing old contracts, exposing hidden payouts, and finally giving voice to those who were silenced for decades.
Oh, you put that thing on the wall! You see how we do it here on Saturday, just as well as you see how we do it here on Saturday, just as well as
There's no manual for a storm like this, especially when the legend the world thought was gone might return, evidence in hand. Insiders report growing unease across major labels. Some suggest the FBI is preparing for a series of indictments that could extend far beyond Diddy and Jay-Z. Agents are tracing connections across time zones and offshore accounts, building cases that could involve producers, managers, and executives who believed they were invisible. A former Def Jam manager put it bluntly: if Tupac really has the tapes and the feds have leverage, boardrooms could see major upheaval. And the concern isn't just public embarrassment. Entire fortunes built on illusion are at risk of collapsing. This raises the ultimate question. If Shakur steps forward, evidence in hand, what changes about everything we thought we knew? Do we reconsider Diddy and Jay-Z's place in hip-hop history? Do we celebrate Shakur as the ultimate survivor, or examine the price of his silence? Or is this yet another layer of the illusion he carefully crafted? A final twist from a man who blurred reality and legend so effectively that few could tell the difference. Court records already reference Diddy 77 times in connection to Tupac's case. With the FBI renewing interest, Jay-Z facing legal battles, Diddy's empire unraveling, and whispers of Shakur's return, it feels as if the stage is set for hip-hop's most significant reckoning. We could be days, weeks, or months away from an upheaval that makes the East Coast-West Coast feud seem small by comparison. Or perhaps we remain trapped in the labyrinth Tupac constructed, chasing shadows while the real answers lie in a Havana vault or federal safe house. One thing is certain, the truth is coming and nothing will remain the same. If these reports are accurate, hip-hop's most powerful dynasty may be on the brink, and Tupac's legacy could rise stronger than ever. The only question left, are we ready for the truth? Share your theories in the comments. This story is far from over. And to catch the next revelation, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Until next time, stay vigilant. This saga is far from finished.